Alright, we're going to start day 2 of PSAT with slope and linear equations. Now, it's not for you to learn from scratch. It's for you to refine what you know and maybe change it a little bit and learn it maybe a different way so you can go for speed. Guys, when you are seeing slope with equations and they want you to quickly go for the slope, very often you're going to be given the form that is standard. For instance, you could have something that looks like this. It could be something like that. And you're asked to find the slope quickly. Now, a lot of you might try to get y by itself and then go from there. And I know this is only saving like 20 to 30 seconds if you know this shortcut, but that's 20 or 30 seconds that you can dedicate to a question that's a little bit more difficult so you can get the perfect score that you're going for if that's your goal. Okay? So if it's in standard form, and only if it's in standard form, you can use this to quickly get that. Guys, you tell me, from standard form, what does A equal in this equation? 2. What is B? -4. So if I use my negative A over B, I would put 2 here, -4 here. So quickly, my slope is a positive 1/2. I did solve for y. I did put it in y equals mx plus b, and I can go to the next question. Okay? I hope a lot of you adopt that. Parallel lines, the slope is equal. We know, tied with relations of systems of equations, how many answers do you see? Not infinite.
No.
None, right? So no solutions, no worries. Just trying to dust the cobwebs off to see if you can do speed recall. Parallel lines have the same slope. They will never have an answer because they will never cross. Okay? Here we go. Perpendicular lines. They're negative flips or negative reciprocals. Okay? The rule occurs on horizontal slope is 0. Its negative reciprocal is undefined. Because a slope of 0, if you don't know it already, is the same as 0 over 1. And if I do a negative flip, what's anything divided by 0? Undefined. Alright, so slope-intercept form is here. They rarely test it. They more so test the standard, and they very much so test the point-slope formula. To me, I think you should master this with speed, because in calculus, this is all we use for the most part forever. And a lot of people in Algebra 2, with my experience of students, they tend to learn this one very well, but we don't use that one all that much in calculus. Please refine this one, because it'll help you with PSAT and SAT. And calculus as well. Let me give you an example. So, real quick, we know how to get slope between 2 points. Look what they did. They did y1 minus y2 over x, or you know what I'm saying, to get the slope, and they get the slope of -1/4. If I asked you to give me what equation would have this slope going through these points, you should know that you could pick any one of these points, and they chose to pick 2, 3. But please, please, please try to put it in point-slope formula first, because the simplification is much faster, more efficient, and there's less room for error, okay, with negatives. There's a lot of negative mistakes all throughout PSAT. They're even camouflaged also in calculus. All right. So what we're going to do is let's go to number 4. And we're going to find the value of b that will give us a slope of 5/4. Okay? We know y2 minus y1. I would put b minus 1 over -1 minus 2. Because my focus is to try as much as possible keep that positive for speed. So I have b minus 1 over -3 is equal to 5/4. Anyone, from what we learned this summer, what would I do next? For speed. You could cross multiply, but that takes a little bit more time, especially with rational functions and polynomials, factors. I want you to multiply by the LCD. Do y'all remember what that?
Least
common denominator. And multiplying both sides with what? Negative 12, right? We want a positive 1 to be our coefficient on the bottom. So here we go. With me. Negative 12 and negative 3 will cancel reduce to what? 4. Which will distribute on this to give me 4b minus 4. Notice me saving work. This is you as well. You should be trimming off the fat as far as how much work do I show. Okay? What will this cancel reduce to? When I multiply negative 12 with that 4 on the bottom as far as canceling reduce, what would that reduce to? Negative 3, which gives me a negative 15. You know to quickly add, so that 4b is negative 11, so b is negative 11 fourths. Any questions? All right, yes?
So how are you getting can you show how you're getting those numbers from
Yes, because when you multiply with the LCD, see, I'm not multiplying a form of 1. I'm not multiplying negative 12 over negative 12. I'm multiplying both sides by negative 12. And the reason why that's allowed is the fact that it's an equation. What you do to one side, you must do to the other. So this negative 12 will cancel reduce with that negative 3. Because one's in the numerator and one's in the denominator. Please make sure that you always remember that these are over an understood 1. Good?
Yep.
All right. So let's solve for the slope here because we're going to need it for number 7. Okay, so we have, real quick, can you identify it just like that? Without showing work? Negative 3 fourths. Good. So negative 3 fourths. Let's go to 7. And we're going to find the equation that goes through this point and is perpendicular to the slope. So what's my new slope? 4/3. So what equation do you think I want you to use, guys? The point slope formula. So here we go. Y minus y1 equals my new m times x minus x1. If I distribute, you help me out. I get 4/3 x, what? Minus 8/3, because it's over an understood 1. And then I get y minus 5 over here. We're going to add 5 to both sides. You with me? So in your head, guys, if I'm adding 5, I'm really going to add what? 15/3. So negative 8 plus those 15, 7/3. So we get 4/3 x plus 7/3 speed with accuracy. If I say x-intercept, what equals 0? Y. If I say y-intercept, what equals 0? X. So, here we go. We're finding an x-intercept. That zeroes out. So what's x? 6. Otherwise, 6, 0. If I'm looking for a y-intercept, that zeroes out. So what would y equal? 8. Otherwise, 0, 8. Okay? Yeah.
Is there a more correct answer between those? X equals 6 or 6 0?
No, here's what I'll say is please don't say that the x-intercept is 6. It's x equals 6. Okay? And then just 6, 0. The reason why I say that is you could see a 0, 6 and a 6, 0 and mistakenly go too fast and it's not in your brain ingrained. X equals 6, X equals 6, and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but between x equals 6 or 6 0,
They're equally the same.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask.
Gotcha. Yeah, they're equally the same. All right. What would the y-intercept? So already I'm thinking, as soon as I read that, I'm thinking this. What would the y-intercept be for the equation below? So if I'm thinking this, what's left over in this equation? 4y equals 0. And what would y equal? 0. Otherwise, 0, 0. The x was 0, and the answer that we found was 0. Just make sure you understand which value represents which one. Now, these I want you to do for homework. We will grade 5 to 10 randomly on all these sections. Like out of all of them, section 4, 5, and 6, I will pick 10 random questions, okay? So, I don't want to spend too much time on linear because it's too easy. I just wanted to refine what we could change and how we could get faster and more accurate.
So which questions are you doing?
Just whatever we didn't cover from that section 4, do for homework, please. Alright, here we go. Factoring. Real quick, what time is the bell ring? Before equal time, it's 44, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, we have time. We have good time. Okay, here we go. Factoring, no calculator. And also, no factoring by grouping. Okay, this whole, that whole AC, factoring by grouping form and the adding, whatever adds to B, it's a little bit inefficient. I want to go more for number sense, trial and error. And we'll build that together. First of all, the thing that I want you identifying is this right here. That's a difference of squares. Okay? So a difference of squares look like this. A difference of square pieces. Okay? I know that it will be this. This first thing, if I square root it, gives me x. This is helping you for what I'm going to show you with the trial and error here in just a bit. This will be 6. Done. Okay? Can you remind me what happened to the b term if I were to FOIL this out? Positive and negative 6x go to what? 0. Okay? So there's difference of squares. That's why we know there's no such thing as sum of squares, because you can't cancel that b term to 0, because everything's adding. Okay? Alright. Let's move to this one. So the way we're going to do this is, when I see a trinomial with a coefficient of 1, that one's going to be fairly easy. They both are going to start with x because this is x squared. The next number that I'm looking at is 56. Here we go. Here's that way that I was trying to show you. Factors of 56. We have 7, we have 8. Right? What else? We have 1, we have 56. We have 2 and 28. 4 and 14. How do you know if you've got them all? Is when you go up, if I were to try to take the square root of 56, somewhere close to it, 8 is 64, 7 is 49. Do you agree? It'll be somewhere between 7 and 8. So what you just did is you created a representation to account for all of them. Okay? Now, with my method that I'm showing you, it will enhance your number sense big time for other stuff. It's not just for factoring. So it's very beneficial. When we go to guess our numbers, we should always start at the ones closest to the center. Because these extremes usually don't work. Okay? Alright. So we started at 7, we started at 8. We know they multiply to 56. Then you got to ask yourself, here's 8, here's 7. Watch what I'm doing. I'm not looking at signs yet. This 8 and a 7 will either make a 15 or what? Look at that. That's what I needed. So now I just have to go back. And it seems like long when you first see it. But when you get fast, guys, you're a lot faster than most people. And then you're going to go back and just make sure that the signs match up. This would have to be a positive, this would have to be a positive, because they would add to get to this positive 15. And we know two positives still make that positive 56. Okay? Let's practice with the more difficult ones, the ones that don't have a coefficient. Let me go straight to the problem so you can see it without the work already shown. All right. Let's go to warm up, let's look at 2. I see this so that I know each of these is what? A. Next number I'm looking at is 27, so that I know these will multiply to get 27. So here we go. I know I have 127. I know I have 3 9. Are there any others? No, that's it. Which one should we try first? 3 and 9. So it's a quick trial and error. Watch me. 9 and 3 will either give me what? 6 or 12. There's the 6 I need. So now I just got to make the signs happen. Okay? They will multiply to give me a negative, so I know one's going to be a positive, one's going to be a negative. They will add to give me a positive 6. Which one's positive, guys? The 9. This is showing the factors. The zeros are the answers. Know the difference, please. A is equal to negative 9 and A is equal to 3. Those are the zeros of that function. Okay? Are we good? Okay, so now let's quickly go to ones that no longer have that coefficient of positive 1. Let's go to something that looks like number 4. Something that a lot of people do, even at your level, is they forget the most basic form of factoring, which is what? Greatest common factor. So if I greatest common factor this, I just created x squared minus 2x minus 8. You with me? So, here we go. I'm going to break this up, leaving this 10 here. Because of the fact that this is x squared, these will be what? X. Okay, that will change here in just a bit. Because this is an 8, I'm thinking what? 2 and 4, what else? 1 and 8. Which ones am I going to choose? 2 and 4. 2 and 4 will either give me what? 2 or 6. And I need a 2. So they work. The 2 and 4 here will work because it was yielding that 2 that I was looking for. So I'll put 2 and 4. Which one's positive? Which one's negative? Positive 2, negative 4. Because look, that B term, positive 2 and negative 4, will add to a negative 2x. That's what haunts people, is that B term. But this is a fast way to still be able to do it. All right. Let's do something a little bit more difficult. Should I try GCF? Yeah. So I should pull out a 12. And here we go. So we have 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. The 12 is still out. And now I have something different. What should they be? 2x. 2x and x. All right, as we keep going, 2x and x will split up to 2x squared will split up to 2x and x. Now this is different. This is the culmination. This is the very, very end of this, okay? I'm still going to look at 1. What are factors of 1? 1 and 1. That's it. I'm like restricted. That's all I have. So now, 1 and 1, look at this. This is different. We'll either create a 2 or a 0. If and only if that number is a 1. But because of the fact that it's a 2, I have to work with these ones a little bit more and look for that B term. That's the only extension that I have to do. But I promise you, it will build your number sense to where you're just like this. So, what I really have is a 1 and a 2, which will either create what? A 3 or a 1. Here's the 3 that I need. So now I just have to think to myself, where does this 1 and where does this 2 go in order to make this happen? So, you could do a little guess and check. Let's say that I put 1 here and 2 here. You see what I'm saying? I would get 1 and 4. Did it give me what I needed? Oh, well, it depends on what my signs are, right? Because I have 1 and 4, which could give me a negative 3. So which one's going to be a negative, guys? The 1 or the 2? The negative 2. Because look, I have the outside ones are a negative 4, and the inside one is a positive 1. They will add to get me this, and I still am able to get the, ooh, what just happened?
I think they're both negative 1.
Yeah, positive 1 and negative 2.
Yeah.
They should be like that.
My bad, so, my bad. So it should be 2 1s, but they should be both negative. My mistake. I don't know where, I think the phone call kind of messed me up on that. But they're both 1s for sure. And they'll both be negatives in order to make that negative 3. Okay, so this is the answer right here. Sorry about that. It was a phone call that just threw me off. But yes, the 1s stayed as 1s because that's the only way that you can get this to happen. Right? And then you just have to put the signs where they go. Is it both positive? Are they both negative? Or is one positive, negative? And where would it go to satisfy you getting this negative 3? Negative 1, negative 2 would give me a negative 3.